Ready to go? We have quorum, I believe. Jane or Jillian, are we ready to go?
Yes, the live stream has started.
Okay. We will begin, and if anyone joins us, they may join us. So I call to order the meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for Monday, November 3rd, 2025 to order at 6 o'clock. This meeting will be held in a virtual manner where committee members, staff, and the public can participate electronically. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be available on the Township website. Notice is hereby provided under the authority of the Municipal Act 2001 and in accordance with the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, that all information attained is considered part of the public record. Could we get a confirmation of the agenda, please? A recommendation is that the agenda be confirmed as circulated. Could I have a mover and a seconder?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lindsay, seconded by Councillor Willis. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Do we have any disclosures? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to item 4, the adoption of the previous minutes. The recommendation is that the minutes of the October 6, 2025 Committee of Adjustment meeting be adopted as circulated. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing and hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes? Moved by Mayor Hagedorn, seconded by Councillor Willis. All in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to the public meeting. D10-11-011-22-2024, D10-012-2024, and D10-013-2024, 4621 Bath Road, Brookland Fine Homes, Severance Easement, and Sanitary Easement. We have a recommendation that the report from the Developmental Services Division dated November 3rd, 2025, re 4621 Bath Road, Brookland Fine Homes, Severance Entrance Easement, and Sanitary Easement be received, and that the application D10-011-2024 affecting the subject property is described as part lot 35 concession broken front Ernesttown, part 1, 29R2470, together with an easement over part of block 25, plan 29M28, part 13, 29R-10055, and all of block 30, plan 29M36 as in LX47768 in Loyalist Township in the county of Langston-Agton, and more particularly located at 4621 Bath Road, Amherst, be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in the report. And obviously I'm not going to read all the conditions, but let's move ahead. Staff, do you have any other information to add or share?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. The proposed application D10-011-2024 proposes consent to sever a residential lot with a lot frontage of 35 meters plus or minus and lot area of 0.9 hectares plus or minus, and leaving the proposed retained lot with a lot area of 20 meters plus or minus and the lot area of 0.15 hectares plus or minus. The proposed application D10-012-2024 proposes consent for easement for a mutual driveway entrance between the proposed residential parcels. The proposed application D10-013-2024 proposes consent for a mutual sanitary easement between the proposed residential parcel on the subject property. So the subject property is designated as low density residential in Schedule C of the Township's official plan and zoned residential type 1 in the Lawless Township Zoning Bylaw 2001 as amended. The proposed lot configuration maintains the low-density residential character of the area and does not impact existing neighboring residential uses. Currently, lots are not connected to municipal sanitary sewer services. The lots will be serviced from the existing sanitary line at the rear of the subject lands, extending from the McDougall Drive. MTO is the road authority and they are requiring a mutual entrance to ensure safe access to both the sewer and retain lots. The both parcels does comply with the zoning bylaw and meet the intent of the residential type 1 zone provisions. Therefore, staff are recommending approval of the consent applications as it is consistent with the PPS and official plan.
Thank you. Anyone on the committee have any questions for staff to provide clarification? Mr. Lindsay, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess my first position on this application is that when we look at it with respect to the 4 tests under the Planning Act, I believe that this application does meet it. But I just have some questions about one of the conditions that staff has presented, and then if I can beg the indulgence of the committee, I'd like to proceed then to comments that were made by the Curve Lake Indigenous group. So if I can sort of split my comments in 2 different sections, if I may. First, to staff, I'm looking specifically at condition number 8, and I'll read out 8A, where it is part of the development agreement process. And I know as a committee of adjustment, we should not be getting into the details of development agreements, but I just want to, for my own comfort level, in making this decision. So 8A states that the applicant owner shall become jointly responsible for the cost of maintenance and operation of the sanitary system, both on private property and over Part 13 Plan 29R 10055, subject to easement registered as LX 47768 over municipal property. When I look at the attached diagram that came with the application, 2 things come to mind. Obviously, the water provision for these potential lots are along Bath Road. I see no difficulty there. But the sanitary servicing has to come in from the back of the property through, I think, what is an existing registered plan. When I look at the registered plan, there is a block set aside, block 30 on Plan 29M36, which I believe will provide access for the services. And then it goes on to Part 13 of Plan 29R 10055. So it's a sliver of land coming down to these properties, and then there's 2 parts that are identified to provide the sanitary servicing to the actual proposed lots. My question is that does the owner have to maintain the sanitary system through Part 13 and Block 30 coming out on the McDougall Street? I see in the conditions where it says, yes, you have to do it over Part 13, but what about Block 30 on Plan 29M36? That's my question with respect to servicing.
Yeah, yes, thank you. I can answer that. And so in terms of the servicing, I believe when it says Part 13, that is public property. So the way I see it, it would be very similar to a municipal right of way. And that wording does come from our engineering division. So we would have to work with them. I would note that that wording outlines those things to go into a development agreement, which would then further be reviewed. I think the intent of that wording was there is going to be on Part 2 and Part 3 a shared a small pumping station for both these lots. So the costs associated with that would be the maintenance of that pumping station that will be on Parts 2 and Part 6. And I'd have to speak with I don't want to speak for our engineering division, but I believe the inclusion of Part 13 might have just been just adding it in there should it be needed as part of the agreement. But I think the intent of that was really for the pumping station, which would be on Parts 2 and Part 6.
Okay, so James, as I understand it, as long as the proponent is aware that there are going to be costs involved with the ongoing maintenance and upkeep of pumping stations, because knowing pumping stations as I know them, they tend to, they're great for a number of years and then all of a sudden they fail and there's a significant cost. As long as the owner is aware that these two lots are going to be dependent on them being able to maintain and upkeep that pumping station.
Yes, I can confirm that the applicant and their consultant has worked very closely with our engineering division for some time to ensure that that this works as well, and they are also aware of what goes into it.
Okay, thank you. That answers my servicing question, Mr. Chair. Now, if I can go on to the second component of my inquiries, and that is I read with great interest the comments from the Curve Lake First Nation. I guess the initial comments came in about a year ago, and basically, as I understand, the nature of the comments is that they were not satisfied with the archaeological assessment report that was prepared. I've then, in continuing to read the report and in dealing with the township's response to it, there have been, and I just want to get clarification, there have been numerous attempts to be able to dialogue with the First Nations, and that these attempts have not met with any measure of success. And ultimately, the municipality sort of gave an end date to discussion and nothing was received. Is that basically the case?
Through the chair, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So I guess my question is staff is comfortable that the approval of these consents and subsequent easements and the like is not going to hopefully result in a action being brought forth by the Curve Lake First Nation to the municipality because of this thing that's hanging out there, I guess, over the archaeological report. I read the consultant's response saying that it met the Ministry of Culture and Citizenship's guidelines. Um, so I take it this is just a disagreement as to the approach of how these things are to work, which is extraneous ultimately to these consent applications and our role as a committee of adjustment to approve it. I just want to make that on record. Should there ever be any recriminations from this decision?
Thank you, again, through the chair. So yes, we have, like we said, we reached out to Curve Lake numerous times and we did consult legal counsel on how to move forward. And as outlined in the report is how we have moved forward. So we have not heard from Curve Lake since, and we are confident in staff's recommendation.
Okay. Thank you. Those are my questions, Mr. Chair.
Guess I got to unmute myself. Any other members of the committee have any questions? I don't see or hear any. The applicant and or his or her representative, are they in the chat? And do they want to speak?
Through the chair, I'm not seeing the applicant with their hand raised. I'll give them a second to see if they would like to come in by using the raise hand function. So through the chair, I'm not seeing that the applicant wishes to speak on this matter.
Is there anyone in the virtual audience that wishes to speak on the matter?
So through the chair, there's nobody in the virtual audience that has raised their hand requesting to speak.
Okay, thank you. The committee, we have a recommendation, which I read out earlier. Would somebody like to move that? Mr. Lindsay? Do we need to reread that or not? Deputy Clerk?
So through you, Mr. Chair, you did read out the beginning of the recommendation. So if you want, you can move the recommendation as stated in the report.
Okay.
That would be
We will
sufficient.
save several minutes on that. Then we will, as stated in the report, moved by Mr. Lindsay. Do we have a seconder? Do I have a seconder? I don't see anybody's hand up.
I'll second it.
Counselor Willis. All those in favor? And that motion is carried. Thank you. All right, back to flip. There are no decisions to share. Does anyone have any other business? Seeing and hearing none. Our next upcoming meeting will be on the 1st of December, 2025. Motion to adjourn at 6:16. Moved by Counselor Willis, seconded by Mr. Lindsay. All